guys, and welcome to Kids Continued. I hope that you have had a good week, or at least a growing week, where you've learned something new about yourself or about God, or even about the world around you. So we are in the book of Deuteronomy this week, okay? Now, Deuteronomy forms part of those first 5 books of the Bible, okay? And do you know what those 5 books are called? I did mention it a couple weeks ago, okay? First 5 books in the Bible are called the Pentateuch. Pentateuch? Okay, my pronunciation is probably a little off, okay? But have a look. This is also what forms part of what people call the Torah. Now, these first 5 books of the Bible are also referred to as the Law of Moses. So sometimes when you're reading in the New Testament and they talk about the Law of Moses, it's all of these books. We have been journeying obviously a lot with Moses recently and the Israelites, and him talking with God and God giving him instructions and laws and things that the people need to live by. Okay, so we are in Deuteronomy and we are with the Israelites and they are about to enter the promised land. And we're so excited about that because we've been waiting for this for so long. But not yet. Okay, we're going to backtrack a little bit because the Israelites have been wandering around in the desert, in the wilderness, for 40 years. That's a really long time, okay? But the reason they are wandering around for 40 years is because they got a little scared. They didn't trust God. They didn't believe in him. When God said, go now into this place, they were like, no, thank you, okay? We read in our Bible that God had sent them to the promised land, to the land of Canaan, but there was a tribe, a nation there that maybe looked a bit like too big and strong, and the Israelites thought, no, we're not going to do that, okay? They had sent 12 spies into this nation to find out like what they were like. Would they be easy for the Israelites to like chase them off or fight them off, things like that? And only 2 came back and said, yes, we must do this. God has said, this is our promised land. This is where we need to go. Let's do that. And the others went, no, we're not doing this. These people are scary and they're rough and tough and mean, and we shouldn't do this. And unfortunately, everyone agreed with the 10 that said, let's not do it. Okay. And God had then said that because they didn't follow his law, didn't follow his leading, okay, that they were too scared and not faithful in what God had told them to do, that those people that didn't trust God would not enter the promised land. And for that to happen, they had to wander around in the wilderness for 40 years until that generation had passed away. So that was the 10 spies that were there. Anyone that said, no, we're not going to do this, was not going to enter the promised land. And that actually included Moses. Moses had a moment of, maybe we shouldn't do this, okay? So even Moses, who has led the people through the wilderness, out of Egypt, all of that, who trusted in God, had a moment where he wasn't sure about what to do. And for that, he wasn't able to go into the promised land. Now, they get back to the promised land when a lot of those people who didn't trust in God had passed away. Now, Moses was still there, okay? But as I said, he couldn't enter the promised land. But he reminded the people. He said, you need to remember who God is. You need to remember what he has done, and you need to praise and worship him for that. In Leviticus, we heard about the different feasts that they had, and these feasts were the stories that they told in times when they would celebrate and remember what God had done. And that's so important for us to do as well. If you have a journal where you write down what God's challenging you with, maybe you've done a Bible study or you've read a story and there's something that you've thought, I need to remember this and apply it to my life, and you write it down in a journal, or you have a prayer journal, or even remember when we had that activity, we did a journal, or you had different jars or boxes. We would write down a prayer, and then when that prayer was answered, you would write down how God answered it, okay? Things like that. We need to remember what God has done, and we need to praise and thank him for that, and to worship him. So Moses was telling the Israelites to do that. to go and remember what God has done when they went into the land of Canaan, which was now their promised land. Moses also told them to remember the commandments. Remember the 10 commandments that we did? To remember those commandments, to remember what God has taught them and how he wants them to live their life. And to remember that there is only one true God. Okay? To not go and worship idols, to put things in a higher position than God, so to think that they're more important than God, which can sometimes happen quite easily. Sometimes it becomes like the games you play, maybe it's like PlayStation or like watching series or something in your life that has become more important than God. And we don't always mean to do it, but we need to be careful of it. We need to make sure that if that thing wasn't there tomorrow, and like we would be okay. Because if you weren't okay if that thing wasn't there tomorrow, it means it's more important than God in your life. And we need to not have that happen. So we need to remember what God has done for us and praise him and thank him and remember his commandments and follow them. So have a look this week and try and find at least one thing every day where you can thank God and praise him for what he has done for you in that day. Try think of different things, so you're not doing every day thanking God, oh, thank you for the sun because it's so nice and warm outside, even in winter when it's cold. Try think of different things every day. See how God has provided for you and how he is working in your life. I hope you guys have a great week, and we'll see you next week. But if you want to chat with me and connect with me, we are trying to start connect groups. So you can contact me through the church office, and it's just a time where we want to get together, see how you're doing, spend some time and pray, and have some fellowship. So have a great week. Bye.